Hey, and welcome to All Things Podcasting, where we will be giving you an inside look at how to launch, grow, and manage a podcast. If you've been dreaming of starting a podcast but don't know where to start, or you have a podcast and you're looking for the best and most productive growth strategies, then this podcast is for you. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to All Things Podcasting. Today I have with me Brenda Cadman, and she is a Canva verified expert, and she is from Prince Edward Island, Canada, which is super cool. Any of the people who have watched Alone on Netflix, I'm pretty sure they did their first season there or somewhere close to there. So that's kind of cool. But after spending more than 2 decades supporting businesses with their website developmental needs, now she's focusing on teaching entrepreneurs how to use Canva more effectively and efficiently, which we all need to know how to do. Brenda has taught thousands of small business owners through her courses, and in particular, she loves to help business owners tame their hot mess Canva accounts by creating an organizational system that ensures they can spend less time in Canva and more time doing what they love. And I know I'm notorious for spending way too long in Canva working on stuff. So I'm so excited to chat with you, and thanks for coming on today.
Oh, my pleasure. And you're in good company. I know that Canva's a lot of fun to play in, but it can be a real deep rabbit hole if you're not careful.
It definitely can. I'll be working on something. My youngest goes to preschool 3 hours in the morning, and I'll be working on something in there, and I'll look up and I'll be like, oh, I have to go pick her up now. It's been 20 hours.
Yeah.
So how can people kind of get away from that? And what tips do you have to make it more efficient so that we can do things more quickly and not spend our whole dedicated work time on a Canva project?
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things to do is not necessarily one of the most highlighted features of Canva. And that really is going in and creating an organizational system. Because if you don't do that, what really quickly will happen is you're suddenly going to find yourself absolutely drowning in designs and multiple versions of designs and all of the images you uploaded that you thought you might use, but you didn't end up using. And it makes it really difficult to find the projects that you actually do need quick access to. So I'm a huge advocate for getting in there into that project section and creating custom folders that fit your own content needs. So, like a typical online business owner is going to need a folder for social media, and some will need a courses folder, some will need folder for lead magnets, and it really depends on what you are using it to create. But I just think it's really important to set up that system early on. And if you're well down the line in terms of creating designs, maybe you've already gotten those little award banners that come up sometimes saying, congratulations, you've created over 1,000 designs. You may be in a position where you have those 1,000 designs and you don't have a folder system yet in place, and it might feel a little bit daunting, might be an understatement in terms of creating a system, but you really can. It's just a matter of sitting down, carving out the time, and chipping away at it a little bit at a time, or carving out an entire day or two where you do put something on that you want to watch on Netflix and just get to it, delete the things you don't need, move the things that you do want to keep, and so on. But that system is what's going to allow you to actually get into Canva, quickly find what you want to work on, quickly find any reference materials from designs you've created in the past, and not spend a ton of time scrolling and searching and opening and checking and all these things that suck a few minutes here, a few minutes there. And suddenly it's time to go pick up your daughter from preschool.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Canva's changed how they've done things in the past, I don't know, 6 to 12 months. And I the whole new way they do templates completely threw me off. I have 27 templates for the same thing because every time I pull it up, it says, do you want to edit the original or do you want to duplicate?
Right.
But then it duplicates it as a template. So it's just a whole thing. I feel like they're doing a lot of good things and they're adding a lot of good things, but it's just that learning curve of how does this all work and how can I do this really effectively? Because we have multiple clients that we're creating graphics and stuff for. So we have all of their branding information uploaded, put into its own section. And then we have a file for each client. That way we're not scrolling through for hours trying to find, because some of the things are seasonal. So we'll do if we're doing a promotion for the course and they have to go to the podcast to get the code. We have those graphics already made, but we made them 6 months ago. So then to avoid that endless scrolling, we have them put into their file. And that's a newer feature that Canva has. So that's made it really easy to kind of sort those things out and make sure you have everything in one place and organized.
Yeah, and I mean, they've had folders for some time, but what is definitely new in the past year is it used to be that you only had unlimited folders on the paid pro plan. And on a free plan, you were only able to create 2 custom folders. Not enough. Definitely
Right.
not enough for anybody who is creating any sort of content for their business in Canva. 2 folders, not enough. And they did roll out a change, and I can't remember when it was. I think it was over the summer, where everybody, regardless of whether you're on a free subscription or a paid subscription, you now have access to have those unlimited folders. You can nest folders 10 levels deep. There are some differences in terms of your storage space. There's actually huge difference in terms of the storage allotment that you have on the plans and also the number of items that you can have in a single folder. But the basic functionality of being able to create that Canva filing system so that you can easily find and retrieve what you need when you need it, that is now kind of leveled the playing field for all of their subscribers, which I think is a really smart improvement for them to make.
Yeah. So for our people who have been in the online business, say they've had their business for 5 years and have used
Mhm.
Canva the whole time and have not put any organizational practices into place, where would you tell them to start?
I like to use the analogy, and it's not a very creative analogy because just think about filing if you were actually going into your physical office space. And if you walk in and your desk and your tables and everything is loaded with piles of paper, you don't want to be filing trash. You don't want to file the things that you just no longer need or you kind of were interested in for a moment and then really it needs to leave. You're never going to use it again. So the first step really is to go through and do that purge. It is grunt work. There's no way around it. It's a matter of scrolling, looking at everything, taking a little walk down memory lane and seeing all the things you've created. And some of them will make you smile and some of them will make you cringe. And you will see just how far your design skills have come in that time. But it's a matter of going through, deleting what you really know you don't need anymore, and archiving the things that kind of want to keep, whether it is for potential future reference purposes or even just nostalgia purposes, moving all that into a designated archive folder that at least gets those items, those designs, those images out of the way so they're not cluttering all the stuff that you actually need current access to, but you're not tossing them. You are still keeping them should you need to go back and find them. But that first pass through of just delete, archive, keep, that's going to whittle down what you actually have to review and come up with some sort of structure and system for. So it really is like going in and how would I handle this if I was creating a physical paper filing system? The first step is always designate what you're keeping versus what you're getting rid of.
Yeah. I feel like you are the, Marie Kondo of Canva.
Exactly, exactly.
Does it
Does
bring
this spark
joy?
joy? But I mean, it's more than that. I mean, not everything in there is going to spark joy. There may be things in there that you realize you're going to need to reference for a future presentation that you might put together. And does it spark joy? Not particularly, but it might be a structure that will save you a lot of time in the future. And that will spark you joy when you know that you don't have to recreate something. But I think there is a tendency to, we check out somebody's template. It makes a copy of the template. We never even rename it. We never customize it. It's just kind of sitting there in case we might want to use it. But we now have 3 dozen of those that are just sitting there and they're just not necessary. So I think everybody has clutter. The most organized amongst us have clutter that periodically we need to go through and curb. So that is where I always recommend people start. It might be a quick thing to do if you don't have a lot of content in your account, or it could be a very laborious process if you have never done this before and you do have a lot of content to sort through. And I think it's really easy to put off because it just does not feel urgent. There's a lot of other stuff that is far more critical in terms of time sensitivity. But the reality is that when you complete this process, it is going to make everything else that you do in Canva so much easier, so much faster. You're going to claw back a lot of time that you can spend on the things that actually really are important. But it's really easy to put something like this off. So I think just tackle it a little bit at a time. If that's all that you can do, just make some sort of progress on it.
Yeah, for sure. And as we have courses and memberships and things, and so we have files like specifically for those things that everything is listed as a template. So if somebody asks, "Hey, where's the template for this?" I can just go and grab that link there without having
Yeah.
to like log into our course platform and then find which lesson it's in. All of our Canva templates are in one
Yeah.
file so I can just grab the link and drop it from there. And that makes it so much easier than having to remember
Or
where I
or
put
desperately try to remember what you named it so that you can search for
right.
it. If you never named it something other than copy of XYZ
Yeah.
template, good luck, my friend,
Right.
because you're gonna spend a lot of time looking for it otherwise. And as you've seen in your own business, it makes a huge difference in terms of not just the time that you're saving, but also you're going to be a lot less frazzled when you have to retrieve or create content if you know exactly where everything lives.
Right. Yeah. Gonna take a chunk of time up front to get everything organized and in place, but then it's gonna save you so much time in the future. It's setting up a system for your business. I think a lot of times we think
Yeah.
of systems as using Dubsado or something like that to like
Yep.
do kind of back end systems, but creating an organizational system is gonna save you just as much time, but we just don't think of the value up front at the same way we do about other types of systematizing.
And then, I mean, whatever system you end up creating for your Canva account, you can duplicate in your Google Drive or your Dropbox or whatever other storage solutions you're using because Canva is a marketing design program, but it's a storage system for you as well because you are housing all of your marketing collateral in there basically. So if you think about it, that is doing double duty, you still need to impose some sort of structure on it as well if you don't want to be constantly scrambling to find what you're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Any other last minute Canva organization system tips?
I mean, some they just seem so simple and so straightforward, but y'all aren't doing it. And that is, make sure that you are naming your files descriptively, using those keywords, name them consistently as well. If you're creating lesson slides for a course, that they're all being named in the same way so that when you go to look for them, you can easily alphabetically order them and see which ones are done and which ones are not. Just naming them consistently is really important. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your folder structure looks like. If it works for you, if it's intuitive for you, we all search for information in different ways. I can always provide suggestions and best practices of what sort of folder structure would make sense for an online business owner. But at the end of the day, what works for me in terms of how I look for and retrieve information is not going to be the same as the way somebody else's brain works. So create a system, but don't feel married to it. If you find that you are struggling to find what you're looking for, your system's not working for you. And feel free to change it. And once it feels like you're able to consistently stick with it, then that's probably the folder structure you want to stick with. And then also revisit this periodically. It's very easy to create the system and then to slip out of it. And if you ever have watched these organizational shows, if you binge the home edit, I guarantee after they have created some of those systems, you come back in 6 months. I bet that pantry does not look like that anymore because it is so easy to slip out of the habits, and creating some clear homes for everything right at the beginning is going to help a lot. But I think it's important to put a little bit of time on your calendar, whether it's 15 minutes a week or an hour a month, to just go in and tidy up those designs that did not get put away. Make sure that if you have uploaded a lot of images, I want you creating custom folder, a photo filing system as well. I don't want to see a ton of stuff in your uploads folder, but it is a temporary holding ground. Sometimes you're going to have to go back in there, sort your photos out of your uploads folder into your system, and just try to stay on top of it so that you don't find yourself in a position in 6 months or a year where suddenly you have hundreds of these to do again. And you're going to be in a position where you're feeling too overwhelmed to carve out the time.
Yeah, for sure. I know we have probably 1,000 pictures of different people in our Canva account right now because our
Yeah.
podcast clients have guests on like every week and we have guests on. So that's like 6 different pictures a week that are getting uploaded. And every once in a while, probably like every 3 months or something, we go through and just delete all those because it's one time
Yeah.
use. We use them once and we're never going to use them again. So we just have to go through
Exactly.
and clear it all out to remove the clutter.
And it feels so nice to have a nice clean slate. It's not a totally clean slate because you've got a lot of content in there that you need to keep, but it just makes everything so much easier. I think it gets overlooked a lot because people think about the excitement and the fun of creating beautiful things. But I firmly believe that you are going to waste so much time that none of us has to waste if you don't create some sort of system. So just start somewhere. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be completely fleshed out right from the beginning, but start somewhere, get a few folders, and just get started. And then once you get into it, you do find your rhythm, you find your groove, and it does become easier.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your expertise with us. If people want to connect with you online, where's the best place for them to do that?
They can find a ton of resources on my website at brendacadman.com, or they are welcome to join me in our How to Use Canva Facebook group. It's over 8,000 in the group now, and the easiest way to get there is just to go to howtousecanva.com and it'll forward them.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I know that our listeners will find a lot of value. And I challenge you all to go and look at your Canva accounts and start
Yes,
the purging process because we all need to do it. So thank you so much for
100%.
joining us. And I hope everybody finds value in this episode and connects with Brenda in her Facebook group. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of All Things Podcasting. If you enjoyed this episode, then hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcasting platform so that you'll never miss an episode. This podcast is for you, so be sure to reach out and let me know what you thought about it. You can DM me through Facebook or Instagram, where I also share valuable content, or you can find me in our Facebook group. Just search for All Things Podcasting in the search bar. I can't wait for you to join us next week for the latest episode of All Things Podcasting.